From the News Channel 5 network, this is Pharmacist on Call.
Good evening, Nashville, Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, those of you as far west as Jackson, those of you as far east as McMinnville. Welcome to Pharmacist on Call with your host, Dr. Sean Pruitt. And if you're watching this show, I am your community pharmacist. Well, everyone, welcome to the May edition of Pharmacist on Call. This is your 1 hour forum where you get to ask those questions that you haven't been able to ask your doctors or your pharmacists because, let's face it, they don't have time. But for this 1 hour, I do. So call in with your questions and your comments. We're going to start out like we usually do. We've got a couple of birthdays here. Happy birthday to my big sister, Kimberly Thomas, who is the Director of Regulatory Affairs over there at Meharry Medical College. So happy birthday, Kim. And happy birthday to the father of my boo-boo, my lady friend, Mr. Andrew Calvert down there in Mississippi. So happy birthday to him as well. And I certainly want to wish all of you mothers out there happy Mother's Day, and certainly some comfort for those of you whose mothers and grandmothers and so forth have transitioned on. I did want to get into a little history here. We're celebrating, we're commemorating the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa race massacres. If you remember, if you've ever heard of something called Black Wall Street, this is the area of Tulsa, the Greenwood, Archer, Pine districts, where freed slaves have built a pretty thriving community. And overnight, around May 31st, 1921 to June 1st, ensued, pretty much a race massacre. What had happened was there was a young man named Dick Rowland who was a shoe shiner that worked in the Tulsa area, and a young lady who worked the elevator named Sarah Page, and apparently he was accused of assaulting her. He was arrested, and then an angry mob ensued that had wanted to lynch him before any justice could take place. But the black residents of Tulsa went down there to make sure that, they went down there armed to make sure that nothing of the sort happened. And I believe that one of the white protesters who wanted to lynch Mr. Rowland demanded that one of the African Americans turn over his gun. Of course, he refused, and I guess a shot was fired off accidentally, and that ensued the beginning of the Tulsa race massacre. This thing went on for the better part of a day and a half to 2 days. It ended up with close to 200 African Americans losing their lives, and about 50 white residents also losing their lives as well. So certainly a piece of American history that we want to remember, certainly not repeat. And I know many of you watching probably haven't even heard of it, but there have been 55 such race massacres perpetrated on thriving, free African-American towns by white residents, and for whatever reason. So it looks like this whole caring thing is not a new phenomenon. And to make this thing even worse, law enforcement participated. When you talk about a whole city that was bombed with airplanes, about 12 airplanes, some of them with law enforcement inside of them, who shot down on the residents of Tulsa or Black Wall Street, and then they threw bombs from the planes as well. If any of you are familiar with the group Gap Band, that is the area that they're from. The Gap stands for Greenwood, Archer, and Pine, and there were some people who were saying that the song You Dropped a Bomb on Me was referring to the event with the airplanes bombing the Black Wall Street area. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that'd certainly be some kind of coincidence. So for those, I believe there are some survivors of those people who were children and barely escaped the race massacre that are alive and still able to tell the story. So an interesting piece of American history. Y'all should go and look that up and check it out, and make sure we never get to that point again in history. All right, so we're gonna talk about a little COVID-19 here, y'all. We've got our first call here, so. Lisa, welcome to Pharmacist on Call. How may I help you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yes, ma'am.
I am calling to get information on how many milligrams of ivermectin that I should take in case I get COVID-19. I've heard that in some countries and some areas of the United States, they've had a lot of success fighting COVID-19, especially at the advanced stages, with ivermectin. And I'd like to know if you know where I can get that as a prescription, prophylactically, to have on hand in case I get it, and how many milligrams I should take.
I think ivermectin comes as a 300 milligram tablet. Good question, Lisa. And I've heard, I haven't really dug into ivermectin, so I couldn't give you a dose. If you give me a call at the pharmacy tomorrow, or I'll try to take a look at it during the break and see if I can get you a definitive dose on that. In terms of where you could get it, I'd imagine any pharmacy, as long as you have a provider who is willing to write for it. Now, I'm not sure if they will write for it if you tell them that you're taking it for prophylaxis for COVID-19. My prophylaxis for COVID-19 is Dr. Pruitt's potion. Doesn't cause any strain on the pharmaceutical supply, does not require a doctor's visit. You just come and buy it. You take your 2 teaspoons daily for prevention, 2 teaspoons twice daily if you have active infection, and that's pretty much what I roll. So I don't have any data on ivermectin. I have talked to other providers, a few who are sold on it, but nothing that I've researched where I could give my kudos to it.
Mm-hmm. And if I get a script written for it, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. If I get a script written for it, can you fill it at your pharmacy?
I would have to see if we can get it. But
you don't have it?
No. I mean, it's not something that we order. We usually use it for parasites. So, yeah, COVID-19. Mm-hmm. But I'll just check with the Board of Pharmacy to see if that is an acceptable use. So, before I give my yay or nay. Mm-hmm. But again, check with me.
Hydroxychloroquine, can I get that from your pharmacy?
Yeah, we sell it, but because we have patients with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, I limited it to them, but it looks like that whole panic of hydroxychloroquine being short and all that. Now, I don't recommend it because of, the side effects, which is why, again, something much safer. This product has something that's structurally similar to hydroxychloroquine. It's called nigelamine. So you would get the same effect of the virus replication blockade and the blocking of the entry into the cell through the ACE receptor. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is this is a much safer and an easier alternative. That's
what is in that?
We have black seed oil, raw honey made right here in Middle Tennessee, vitamin D oil, and organic coconut oil. So I made this about a year ago, actually in June, before any talk of a vaccine was out. People were sick and they needed something and they were scared. So I did some research on this coronavirus, how it affects us and where we could possibly beat it. And so I came up with these 4 ingredients because they attack and they boost the immune system and attack the virus in different areas. So it gives like a synergistic effect attacking it. I've had a number of people who were deathly sick, could barely breathe. In fact, one was an ex-girlfriend up in Kentucky, and she just sent me a text yesterday saying that now she can breathe, now she's able to walk up, get up without struggling to breathe. So this has turned the corner for a lot of people who've had active disease. So if you want to talk about prophylaxis, nobody who's taking this has developed the disease.
Well, yeah, I already take a lot of a high dosage of, not too high though, of vitamin D, and I take C and zinc and quercetin, but I'm very interested in ivermectin. And so, yeah, if you could find out about that, that would be maybe something great to tell your patients or your clients.
I probably wouldn't just because of the strain and the panic, just like it did with hydroxychloroquine. And so I didn't want to cause a strain for patients who had RA and lupus because it's going to mess up the supply for them. They need those medicines more than we do trying to be scared. So that's why I came up with something to replace that. So we don't have that strain on the pharmaceutical supply, that we don't risk killing ourselves taking hydroxychloroquine prophylactically when we don't even need it. These things are not without side effects.
COVID's not without side effects.
We got COVID. And I like the regimen that you're we've got COVID. We got that. But I like the regimen that you're taking.
Yeah. COVID's not without side effects. So if I could get some ivermectin and it would save my life, that would be fabulous.
Honestly, ma'am, I like the regimen that you're on.
Excuse me?
I like the regimen that you're on. What you just told me that you're taking, I like what you take, prophylactically and for treatment.
Oh, yeah.
I see no holes. I see no reason why you would need ivermectin, if you want me to be honest with you.
Well, just in case I got it, and in case, not a huge chance because I'm not in one of the high-risk categories, but, just in case.
Even if you were, ma'am, what you are taking is going to block the virus from getting inside the cell. It's going to block the virus from replicating, and it's also going to boost up your antibody production. So what you're telling me are ingredients that I've researched. They have a direct effect against the virus and direct effect on your immune system. So I like the regimen that you're taking already, and you don't need to fool with ivermectin.
And also, I'd forgotten, by the way, I'm also getting a little research done for an older couple that I know in case they were to get COVID. They're elderly, they're in their 80s, and so in case they got it and had some bad things go down with COVID, I would just like to have some ivermectin on hand for them.
I'll tell you what.
And I don't think a lot of people are using it, so I don't think there's going to be a run and it's readily available. There's tons of ivermectin because, as you know, it's used for parasites and in humans and animals. There's tons of ivermectin.
Let's discuss this tomorrow. If you want to give me a call at the pharmacy, the producer's going to flash the number there. So this will be a lengthy discussion between you and I. So give me a call, and I'll be there at the pharmacy around 1 o'clock. So yeah, give me a call tomorrow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you. All right. Shelley, welcome to Pharmacist on Call. How may I help you?
I'm still on hold.
No, you're not. I'm talking to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good evening. Thanks for taking my call, Dr. Pruitt.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 3 elements I'd like to ask you about, and then I'll hang up and listen to your opinion about the vaccine. I think you've spoken it before, but I wanted to hear what you have to say about that.
Sure.
But one of the elements I have a question about is osteophytes in your neck, like bone spurs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you suggest to do for that? Because doctors say just watch it and, there's really nothing to do about it. But it's beginning to affect my swallowing, so I just wanted to know what you would suggest for that.
Well, gee, I have no experience with osteocytes, so that's something that I'd have to dig in and do some research on. But let me...
There are bone spurs in the neck.
Bone spurs in the neck. And you say it's affecting your swallowing. How, ma'am?
Well, it's just obstructing swallowing. It's just making it difficult to swallow.
Okay.
Because I guess they're growing. I mean, I've had several, scans, and they have grown a little bit in the last 2 years. So, I was just wondering, is there anything that could shrink them that you know of?
What type of doctor are you seeing for these?
ENTs, pretty much.
Okay, that's okay. Let me take a look at that. I'm sure that there's something out there. I just need to find it. But yeah, I've never even dug into these. But I tell you what, Shelley, hang on. We're getting ready to go to a commercial break, and when we come back, finish up your questions, okay?
All right, thank you.
Hang on. All right, everyone, stay right there. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.